Okay, going to take another shot at this, trying to make sure I speak slowly and distinctly, and also hopefully don't sound like a blithering idiot, which, so I'm trying to do two things at once, multitasking. This is a video about a way to use the inventory, the Winventory, the BERT to 6 inventory, to look at your program as a whole. Quite a few years ago, my superintendent was approached by a member of the state legislature with a request for some very specific information for a state legislator to be asking about. And New Mexico School for the Blind, it's funded through mineral rights and that kind of stuff, but the state provides direct support for certain things, like they built us a brand new building on the Alamogordo campus, for example. A few years before that, they built a new preschool to take care of a building that was, or replace a building that was in not very good shape. And so when a state legislature has a question for our superintendent, whichever superintendent it is, our superintendent wants to be very responsive and be able to answer their question very thoroughly. So she came to us and she said that she had been asked to get information regarding how much progress in related services our students were making at the Alamogordo campus. A very specific question for a state legislator. I mean, just the fact the state legislator even knows there's such thing as related services is kind of amazing. But anyway, so she came to us and she said, I need information on the progress kids are making in related services. I have no idea what PT, OT, and speech did. No clue. I mean, how do you, if you're a physical therapist, I mean, little Billy can bend his arm at a 45 degree when he got here, and now he's bending it at a 60 degree. And I don't know how you would do that. But for me, it was really easy. And so what you see on the screen right now is just a simple Excel chart. There are 7 columns, and then there are numbers 1 through 35 in column A for student. Obviously we didn't use student names. And then you have column B, which shows the initial score the students got on their inventory. And so we range from about 31% on the low end, and I'm seeing a couple of 76s on the high end. Column C is the final score that the students were getting. And, there are some in the 90s. I think the highest is 93.9. No, so, you're 94%. And the column D is growth. So how much growth each student made, from initial to final. So like for the first student, for example, came in at 36.1 and left 71.2. Growth rate 35.1. So that's just 71.2 minus 36.1. And then the percentage of growth, 97.2%, nearly 100%. The student was with us for 2.5 years. At least by that point, either they had been here 2.5 years and then they left, or they had been at the school for 2.5 years when I was given the request by the super. And so divided that out, and growth percentage per year, 38.9%. Now, there are 2 yellow rows on the sheet. There is one after student number 18, and that yellow row is the average of students 1 through 18. Then there's a second yellow row down at the bottom, which averages students 19 through 35. So you can kind of see what the averages are. And it's broken down because I realized as I was putting this together, and this chart is not hard to put together, even if you're not an Excel nerd. This is pretty basic Excel stuff. So it's something that you could definitely do. Anyway, as I was putting it together, I realized that I didn't just have to look at all students together. I could look at types of students. And so the first set of students are students who have no vision. The second set of students are students who have vision. Actually, I should clarify, the first set are students who did not use vision for travel. They may have had a little bit of vision, but not reliable for travel. And I don't just mean that their vision wasn't good enough to detect obstacles, and so they had to use a cane. Pretty much all these students are cane users. It's more a matter of not being able to see that there's an intersecting sidewalk, so making sure that they're learning how to detect those, and not being able to tell there's a doorway. So very little to no vision, that top group. The bottom group is students who have degrees of vision, and that could be students who might not even be a cane user, a couple of them, but most of them are still using a cane because they don't have sufficient vision to detect that low contrast drop off that could be anywhere in their environment, that kind of thing. And so looking at the averages, we start to see some patterns. One, the top group, remember the group without vision, 49.7% was their initial inventory. So they came in at about 50%. The bottom group, the group with vision, came in at 63%. And so right away, we see that the top group, the kids without vision, are coming in 13 points behind the kids with vision. And so, what does that imply for services in New Mexico for students without vision, students with vision? Because these kids are from all over the state. With the averages, we'll talk about that some. I mean, most of these kids had been here 2 years or less. We had a couple outliers that had been at our campus for about 5 years. But most of them had been, just a couple of years, 2-3 years. Now, at the end, my kids without vision were 71.9% on average, so about 72%. The kids with vision were 81.7%. And so my kids without vision are still 10 points behind my kids with vision. Now, they've made up some ground in the amount of time they were there. They had started out, a little over 13 points behind, and now they're 10 points behind. Actually, not quite 10, but close enough 10. And so that also tells us something. That tells us that, my kids without vision are gaining ground. Are they gaining enough ground? That's a different question, and one that programmatically, this kind of data can drive. Now, growth rate, my kids without vision increased by an average of 22.2 points, or about 49%, so about 50%. My kids with vision increased 18.5 points, or 32.8%, so about a third. So my kids without vision increased their skills by about a half. My kids with vision increased their skills by about a third. So again, we see that my kids without vision, yeah, they're making a gain. But looking back, just a couple of columns, we can see that there's still a disparity of about 10 points. Now, the years, my average kid without vision at the time I was asked to do this, and this was several years ago, so this is old data. This is not anything terribly recent. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it still bears a good resemblance to what I would get if I did the data now. 2.8 years is how long my kids without vision had been either with us or had been on campus and then left. My kids with vision, 2.2 years. So my kids with vision aren't staying around on campus or aren't coming to campus as early as kids without vision, which again, that gives us something else to look at, as far as the population we serve, why we serve that population, why are kids without vision more likely to come or spend longer with us than kids with vision. And then finally, the growth percent per years is actually very narrow, 16.9% on average, because again, the kids without vision are staying longer. Now the kids with vision, 15.8%. So my kids without vision are making up about 1% more growth per year, which, that's not a huge increase. It's adding up over time. But it's not a rapid advancement. So, if that was 26.9%, then, we would see that, okay, well, the kids without vision are catching up to the kids with vision, which is, what we want. We want people without vision and people with vision to be traveling on even footing. We don't want there to be a big disparity. Now, this information helped my super. She was able to respond to the legislature with a very impressive looking chart, including some colors. And, she was able to have a conversation about, what the different numbers meant and the implications of that. Now, a few years later, at my school, we've had 4 supers in the time I've been there. And we've had even more administrations. And some of the administrations I've had, lower level administrators, not supers, have come in and had questions about, how much time I'm spending with certain students. I've had some students who had no vision that we were really pouring service delivery time into. And I mean, I was seeing the kid pretty much every day. And that can get questioned. Why are you spending so much time with Billy? Well, here's why. The information's right here. I need to spend more time with my kids who don't have vision because they come in behind. And while they make more progress than the kids with vision who are getting less time, they are not completely closing that gap. And so, the justification is there. And in the case with a specific administrator, that explanation really opened her eyes, and she was able to see, where I was coming from. It wasn't just, oh, I like Billy and I want to spend time with Billy. Or I don't like Sue, and she's one of the, say she was one of the students down there towards the bottom. I don't like Sue, and so I'm only seeing her once a week, or anything arbitrary like that. If Sue is one of the kids without vision, or with vision rather, let's say Sue is 35 down here, and I just realized that when I made this, or when I reproduced this chart, I put 2 32s. So anyway, let's say Sue is down here at 67%, and is on her way to 77%. I might spend less time with Sue, because of where she's starting and the growth she has getting there, than maybe a student like this first one up here we're just going to call Billy, who started out very low at 36%. And I don't remember which kids are which in this, and I don't think I've ever had a kid named Billy or Sue for that matter. But anyway, if Billy comes in at 36% and Billy's a 9th grader, we got a lot of work to do. And so having the ability to chart this and to show an administrator, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is really valuable. It certainly helped me out. It helped the school out, just because the super had some numbers that she could discuss with a state legislator, like people who are making the decisions about funding and all that kind of good stuff. So with the inventory, with the inventory, with the birth to 6 inventory, you can create this kind of data. You can break it out farther. At my initial breakdown of this, I had my kids with vision broken down into kids with progressive conditions versus kids without. And so, you could look at different types of students and see, am I providing the service that I need to be providing programmatically, not just to little Billy or Sue. You can really look at it as a whole, and you can look at it over time. This data came from, I don't know, probably about 4 or 5 years worth of kids that I had seen. And so, you can spot those trends, and then you can adjust your programming to meet whatever things aren't being met, whatever needs aren't being met. If I was seeing that my kids with no vision were making less progress than my kids with vision, well, that would be a real problem. That would suggest that I'm not doing right by those kids as a whole, not individually, because maybe little Billy, we're killing it, but maybe with, all the other kids down there, maybe I'm not doing as well if the averages aren't coming out, the way they have here. So this is just a way to be able to look at the program. And I mean, if you wanted to go macro, we could look at all the kids using the inventory in the state if we had all the O&Ms who are using the inventory collecting data on their kids over time in this same way. And we could see, is that the same thing that's happening in local districts as is happening at the New Mexico School for the Blind? Sorry about the tone over there. My emails keep coming in. And the other beep thing just tries to keep me from prattling on like a lunatic, or prattling at lunatic speed. Prattling on, I'm certainly doing. So we could look at the entire state. You could look at a region. So, it's the ability to take data and then make of that data programmatic decisions, that can help out kids who have yet to come along, the ones we're going to see here in a few years. So anyway, this is something you can do with the inventory that you can't really replicate with most other tools. And it's because the inventory kicks out a number and gives you a percentage. So that's just this little piece here. And, it's just hopefully gets you thinking about ways that you can look at your own program in terms of the entire program as opposed to single kids, and spot trends.